A leader is not really about bossing people around and expecting them to deliver and you're not even investing in them. It really is about growing people, because as they grow, so will your business. Everyone, lovely to be back here. I hope you've had a productive week, and if it hasn't been productive, it's been challenging. I'd love to know how you've handled it. How have you overcome the challenges you faced this week? Today I am so excited to talk about a topic that's very dear to my heart, even though it's still quite new-ish for me, and that's on leadership. Because over the last however many years, I have run my business pretty much by myself, and I have had assistants here and there, but it's only now in the last 12 months, I would say, that I'm transitioning. I find that I'm transitioning from being a solopreneur to being a leader of a team. And so that's come as a surprise in many ways because of the mindset changes that it's required. There were things that I did not envision happening as a leader. I didn't work it into my plan because, you know, you have a vision of where you're headed if you're in business, and you know exactly where you started, and then you keep going and you have these ideas of the landmarks or milestones that you meet along the way. But leadership was not one that I thought about how I was going to transition into it. It's a bit like imagining your baby walking without thinking about how they're going to crawl or what the emotions of crawling would feel like. And so I find that there are ideas that are out there about what leadership is about, especially in business. It's not about bossing people around. People think that it is. Not everyone does, I know, but many people see the position of leadership as one where you're the boss, your authority is thrown around, respect is demanded, and something I know for sure is whatever you intend is actually what you're going to get. So if you're a leader or you're a head of an organization or a company, no matter how small or large, and you feel that your desire, what you really want to happen is for people to respect you and to see you as the boss, that's actually all you're going to get. You may get what feels like respect to you. You may have people treating you with reverence, whether it's genuine or not, but you're not going to get anything more than that. And as a leader of a company, you do want way more than that. You want commitment, you want dedication, you want the gifts of your staff to blossom, and you want them to feel like they're part of the business and they're making a valuable contribution. What you don't want is for people to come in and simply get their job done and run. And so that's one of the misconceptions about leadership that I have found, that it's all about bossing people around. So when you're a small business like I am, or my company is, you can't really afford to have people simply check into work, do their job and leave. You need people who are invested in the business, people who will put in more than what you're expecting them to put in, because I always say that one of us is like a massive percentage of the company. When you have 4 people or 6 people working for you, you need everyone to come on board. You need everyone to give 100%, because if someone gives even as little as 80%, it's going to be noticeable. That little 20%, it's not so little when it's in a small business. And so being a leader is not really about bossing people around and expecting them to deliver and you're not even investing in them. It really is about growing people, because as they grow, so will your business. The second misconception about being a leader is being a know-it-all. So, and this is something that I noticed about myself, was I felt some level of discomfort whenever my staff would come to me and ask me for something and I didn't know the answer to. Thankfully, because I've spent years working on my mindset, I recognize the difference between what I call a rogue thought and an authentic thought. So a rogue thought is one that sort of assaults you and makes you feel small. You could call it a limiting thought. Some people call it stinking thinking. Whereas one that's authentic is more empowering. And so I recognized that that wasn't whatever I was feeling or thinking in that moment was not what I was supposed to feel or think. And so being a leader is not about being a know-it-all. It's okay to admit that you don't know certain things. And so I focus a lot more on making sure that I recognize gaps in the business and I recognize talent that's out there so I can bring them in to fill those gaps. I'm not here trying to be a marketer or a social media guru or anything like that. That's not my job and that's not my gift. I have no strengths in those areas. Even though I may have built my business to a certain point, there is only so far I can take it on my own, and I needed to have other people come on and help. And so you're not meant to be a know-it-all. And if you are transitioning or you find yourself in a place of leadership and you are getting the feeling or the mindset that's driving you is that you should know everything, you need to amend that mindset because it's limiting. It will stop the business from growing. It will stop your staff from feeling empowered, and it will stop them from feeling that it would cause them to feel that you really don't need them since you have all the answers. The third misconception that's out there about leadership and about being a boss is that, hey, now that I'm a boss or a CEO, I can Netflix and chill. Not true at all. What simply happens is there's a shift in your workload or the type of work that you're doing. As a matter of fact, you are going to require more brain power, more discipline. You're still going to have to wake up at crazy hours of the day. Your workload actually increases, but the type of work you're doing simply changes. And so what that means is that while you may free up the space and the time for doing the little running around that you used to do, and you no longer have to do that, that time and space is now used for strategic planning and creativity and driving the vision forward. And so that's a misconception that people have, is that people just want to chill, or people are chilling when they become the boss. If that's your idea of what it's, what's waiting for you when you get there, you might need to readdress that mindset because you'll be disappointed. But then I noticed, so while I may not necessarily have had those as my thoughts or my ideas of leadership, I'm going to tell you now what I specifically had to do and the mindset changes that I needed to have. So one of the mindsets that I noticed, and I think that was really the first one, was my struggle to let go of what I'd always done. Like I mentioned, having done this on my own for years, and then later with my trusted assistant who is just amazing. It was just both of us for the last, for the last 5 years, it really has just been two of us. And then now we have more people in the team. We're having to let go of things that we've always done. I really struggled with that to the point where I was accused of micromanaging, because and it wasn't really that I wanted to micromanage or I didn't trust the people that I had in place. It's just that I felt, well, I've always done this. It was a bit like having a pet and you're giving the pet away. So it required a real mindset change for me to go from being on my own or doing things with just myself and my assistant, and now having to just let go completely and watch people do it. One of the things I had to learn, or one of what actually helped me to let go, is something I talk about always, which is that everyone is gifted. I mean, I recognized this when I was hiring them. I recognized their unique gifts and their unique abilities and personalities, and that's what I was bringing into the business. But it's one thing to see it and say it, but it's quite another when you have to put it into practice. And so it was just that reminder that, listen, you want to see this person's unique gift and see their own slant on how they're going to do this, because it's not really about how things are done. And that's another thought that I adopted. It's not about how it's done. It's about getting the result, and watching them do things how they want to do it is beautiful to watch, because it's just so unique and different, and it just gives a whole new flavor and atmosphere to our business, and it gives it a character that's richer than what it was before. The second mindset that I needed to adopt was to recognize that my role had changed. And so going from where it's all about, hey, I just need to grow my business and I'm the nursery interior designer and I'm the visionary and so on and so forth, going from that into now having to give pep talks and recognizing that part of my role means keeping morale up in the office. It means letting people know that I see them. It means allowing them to not only use their gift, but also for me to see their gift and also celebrate their gift so that the best can come out from them, or so that they can deliver the best or bring out the best in themselves. And so that's another thing, is my role sometimes feels a little bit like a mom because, as you know, I've got 4 sons and I've been a mother, it feels like all my life. But now I've got these amazing ladies who work with me, and I feel like I have to oversee them, which is what I do. I also because I journal a lot and I'm very introspective, so I have a very clear vision or a clear picture of my vision. It's crystal clear in my head. I know exactly where I'm going. I know exactly what I want the end to look like for me and for my business. But it's a different thing when you now have to translate that vision that you're so fluent in and you understand so well. I've got to translate it in a language that every personality in the business can understand. And so and then also not just the translation of the vision, but the comfort of giving away something that was so private and personal to me. That was something I needed to adjust as well, or I had needed to adjust to. It felt like exposing too much, but then that's what the idea of growing a business is. You get to grow it and you have to, you can't do it on your own. You get to a certain point as a solopreneur where you have expounded all of your energy and all of your creativity for growth up until that point. And if you want to take it to another level, you're going to need the creativity and the gifts of other people. And it means that you've also got to expose what's been hidden for such a long time. The third mindset I noticed was more of I don't know if I'd say that it was forced, but I definitely adopted it, but I could see it seeping into my mind, seeping into my life anyhow. My evolving personality. So over the last 12 months, my personality has evolved rather rapidly, and there are traits I now have that I didn't have. For example, the desperate need to get better organized, the desperate need to visualize my week ahead of time and my days ahead of time and then plan accordingly. The requirement for discipline is on a high like never before, because before I could make an appointment with myself and not keep it and it'll be fine. But now I have other people to consider. And so I find that I'm a lot more disciplined than I ever have been. There's also me becoming more assertive, where if you have listened to the Living Inside Out podcast, you'd have heard me refer to myself often as a recovered people pleaser. So I say recovered because it's an affirmation for me that I don't ever want to be a people pleaser ever again. And so part of that means that before I consider the outcome of what I'm saying, I start to consider the feelings and the emotions of the person I'm saying it to, which means that I have historically been speaking in a more permissive manner as opposed to being assertive. And so now I find that I'm more assertive because I need to make sure that what I'm trying to communicate is very clear, and it's not just information, it's an instruction, it's a guide, it's what we want the business to do. And the one that surprised me the most is the fact that I find that I'm speaking less. So yes, I have started a YouTube channel, which is making me speak more than I normally do. But I find that as a person, I'm doing a whole lot more listening and a whole less speaking. And it's necessary because I've got to listen. I have to listen not just to words, but to thoughts. I've got to listen to the environment and the atmosphere in the office. And so really is just listening with more of my senses as opposed to simply just talking. But I need to hear what's going on, and I need to hear what is not being said. So I need to hear through body language and emotions and just what's going on in the air to make sure that everyone's happy, everyone's excited and the passion is flowing, and the energy in the office is not down. So all of that has just kind of resulted in me speaking less and doing more listening. That's another interesting change that I've noticed ever since transitioning from a solopreneur into a leader. In conclusion, what surprised me about this season has been the fact that I didn't see this coming. Like I said earlier, I had a very clear vision. I've always had a vision of where I'm headed, but I did not write in leadership mindset change into my path. I didn't know that that was something that would be required. I thought, hey, you just grow into the role. But I'm really thrilled and I'm happy that I took the time to notice these changes. One, so I can share it with you, but also so that I can continue to notice what else needs to be done. So, are you in leadership or are you transitioning into leadership? I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to know how you have done it or how you're doing it or what you're struggling with or what you have discovered that I haven't mentioned. So that's pretty much it. The 3 misconceptions of leadership that I've noticed so far, and I'm sure there are more. We'll talk about it as we go along. It's not bossing people around. It's not being a know-it-all, and it's not Netflixing and chill. And one thing I can say for sure is that it requires a mindset change. And for all of us, it's going to be different. And I know that there's so much more to come from me, but I'd really love to hear what changes in your mindset you have had to adopt to get into the leadership position, what you think you're going to have to adopt, because sometimes we know ourselves well enough to think, oh, I'm going to have a problem with this area. Let me know in the comments below, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.